Hello, Americans, patriots. How you doing? Well, anyone who's ever worked in private enterprise and government, and I've done both, can tell you that the big differences between the chain of thoughts and how one side is all about making sense and using common economic principles, and the other side is just about wasting money and not making sense and feelings and optics. Now, the reason why they hate Donald Trump because even as much as they loved Ronald Reagan was never an entrepreneur like Donald Trump was, even though Reagan understood how dysfunctional government was. But Donald Trump was the first president to come in as an entrepreneur, a successful businessman, come in and see what was wrong with government and knew how to fix it. Now, anyone who's ever worked for the government, I don't care if it's on the federal level or state level, knows the government is not about solving problems. All these government agencies, I don't care what it is, Department of Energy, the Housing Urban HUD, Department of Education, they're not about solving problems. They're only about managing the very problems they cause. Because if they do solve the problems, then there's no more of a need for them and they can't have that. And when you look at the problems we have today of intrusive government, government has become so big, definitely on the federal side, we'll talk about the federal side for now, is that people come to get used to these agencies that they really think they're needed and they're not, because before these agencies were created, the country was just fine and we were better off and we were prosperous without them. And that's a fact. Government will never solve the problems because they're about just getting bigger and bigger and bigger until they can take over and take away your freedoms. They're never going to solve your problems. They only want to manage them and give the appearance that they're trying to solve them. But all they ever do is keep expanding, 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 and asking for more money for crap results. And the bigger the government, in the case the federal, the more insanity there is behind it. I'll give you an example. You take a bridge project done by a local town as opposed to a federal highway project. Even though the town is a government agency, it's much smaller, and because they're more visible and they work within the town and the microscope is tighter on them, things have a tendency of getting done a lot more efficiently and quickly. Because the only people that can vote them back in office are the very townspeople they live with. And whenever they go to any community events, they're there, they have to justify, and there's no escaping. The problem here with on state level is, well, take here in New York where I live, is that if they don't want to talk to their constituents, they just hide out in Albany. And anyone who's ever been to Albany, it's like a fortress trying to get into the state senate or the state assembly or Empire State Plaza where the governor lives. And if you're a federal representative, all you got to do is run away to Washington, D.C. because it's such a big country. Good luck trying to travel across the country or long distance to see a representative in D.C. And that place is also a fortress. But you look how government does things, they're only about one thing. They're not about saving money, and they're not about efficiency. It's all about get the project done, look like we're doing something, even though, you can see the inefficiency from 5 miles away. Ask anyone who's ever seen in New York State who's seen the Whitestone Bridge, the Triborough Bridge, Bruckner Expressway, those construction projects get complete. It takes almost decades. Forever. It's ridiculous. That's just the state. Feds are much worse. But they're not about saving money. They're not about doing the efficient. I'll give you an example. Donald Trump, when he came here years ago, we had the Woman Rink in Manhattan. Under Mayor Koch in New York City, they had spent millions and millions of dollars and they couldn't get the rink to work. And of course, the way the city does things, like most governments, everything's always lowest bidder. Lowest bidder, lowest bidder, lowest bidder. Well, you get what you paid for. In this case, millions and millions for a hockey rink that did not work. Donald Trump, while living in New York City at the time, criticized Mayor as inefficient and gave far more pretty harsh words. Said they were incompetent, and Mayor Koch, well, let's see you do better. Well, Donald Trump took the project on, and within months, he had it done, and he had it done right, spending much, much less money than the millions the city spent on. I think he only spent a couple $100,000. But what did he do? Did he go lowest bidder? No. He figured out who's good at making hockey, ice skate rinks. Who are the best people? Where is it cold? In Canada. What do they do in Canada? They play hockey. So he went to a Canadian company who built some ice skate rinks and hockey arenas, brought them down, told them what the problem was, found the ways to get done efficiently, and it was done. Again, government is not about saving money. Now, let's break this down even further for a sports fan. If you're also a sports fan, we'll take a look how MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, with the New Jersey government for the Jets and Giants, did things as opposed to Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys out in Texas, where he did things on his own without government help. Now, forget what you think about the NFL, forget what you think about Jerry Jones as the owner, and forget how you feel about the three teams involved here. Let's just talk business here. Jerry Jones built AT&T Stadium at a price of, I think, $1.2 billion. The New Jersey government built MetLife Stadium. I think it was $1.4 billion. And so you have to ask yourself, what did the Jets and Giants get for $2 million more than what Jerry Jones did, doing things on his own without the government's help other than highway infrastructure? The Jets and Giants got a stadium which both the Jets and Giants fans, for the most part, don't like. MetLife is pretty much the gender-neutral stadium of football stadiums. Now, on the outside, it looks pretty nice, but that's in the eye of the beholder. Inside, everything's light gray. And when you consider that the team colors are green and white for the Jets and red, white, and blue for the Giants, even though they dress it up on game day, you don't get the feeling that that's a real home stadium for either one of those teams. And both fan bases would tell you that. At least with the old Giants Stadium 1, it was named after the Giants. The seats were red, white, and blue. And because of the swirling winds, it had personality. MetLife has no personality. When you go to Arlington Stadium, you know, everywhere you go, that's a Dallas Cowboys stadium. And the fans, for the most part, love their new stadium. Now, what else did the Jets and Giants get for having spent $2 million more than Jerry Jones? They got a stadium with 15,000 less seats. That's right, 15,000 less seats. MetLife holds about, I think, 82,000 to 85,000 people. Arlington Stadium holds up to just over 100,000 people need by. They have that ability to add seats and take away seats, but I think generally for football games, they're about 75,000 to 80,000, but they can add another 20,000 seats easily and for other events. Arlington Stadium also got a retractable roof with a huge built-in big screen TV at the center. MetLife got an open-air stadium. And because they're open-air stadium, guess what Arlington can do that MetLife Stadium can't do? Well, for one thing, Arlington Stadium got the Cotton Bowl. And even though it's only an event's only one day, it's a weekend event for most businesses in the area, so they profit that way. And they especially profit when the Cotton Bowl becomes either a semifinal playoff game or they use it for the National College Football Championship, which brings in big money. And it's going to bring in big money even after they expend the 12-team playoff next year. Arlington Stadium has also held the NCAA Final Four in basketball. MetLife cannot do that because it's an outdoor arena. Now, forget about the whole football aspect of it. Think about business and making money. Arlington Stadium is going to make more money because they have more seats, but because they have a dome and a retractable dome, they can bring in a lot more lucrative events than MetLife ever will. And that's the difference between private sector and government. You don't get what you pay for with the government, you get what they give you. And the biggest slap in the face was, because it went over budget, I think they introduced these things at MetLife Stadium called personal seat license. Meaning, if you're a season ticket holder of the Jets and Giants, you know how to buy a seat licensing to buy the tickets. Now, you look how they priced out a whole bunch of Jet and Giant season ticket holders. A lot of long time ones. People went back to Shea Stadium and back to Yankee and the Polo Grounds. Now you could pay, what you want to see, you could pay either up to, at the time, was $1,000 up to $15,000 per seat for personal seat licensing. And that didn't even include the tickets. That just gave you the right to buy the tickets. So then you had to go out and buy the preseason and regular season tickets also. And many longtime fans were priced out of their seats. And for a lot of people, this was their prized possession. This was their recreation. This was their vacation. Going out, tailgating, and going to a game and having fun. For years, I was on the waiting list for Giant Stadium to get one ticket. And it wasn't until they built MetLife, and I couldn't figure out why, but once I saw the prices of personal seat licensing tickets, I told them to go screw themselves. I ain't paying that. But that's government for you. And now, once in a while, you'll see advertisements for Jet and Giant season tickets on TV, something you never, ever saw before MetLife came to existence, because they were already sold out, and they're sold out for years. The only way you would get tickets if someone who's a season ticket holder offered you to them or gave them to you, or if you're willing to pay extra money on StubHub to get them. But there's a difference between government and private sector in general, and why they hate Donald Trump. Let me know what you think. We'll talk to you later.